Recently, a wave of interest has been swelling around the possible discovery of the most fundamental particle of our existence. Some have ventured to name the obscure particle in relation to the existence of God, a claim that has scientists speaking out since their findings were released last year.
December was a really defining moment for CERN because, first of all, we got together all the data, and most of the analyses were updated with the data that was collected in 2011. And this amount of data was substantial enough so that we could actually say something about the Higgs in a very wide mass range.
That was an exciting time. It was like being essentially the Olympics of high-energy physics because, we don't get to have that kind of event very often. Everybody was paying attention to what was happening, and it's really an exciting time to be in high-energy physics right now.
The Higgs boson might be the most exciting discovery for CERN yet, and is certainly clamoring up enough attention to give it that title. The Higgs boson, otherwise known as the God particle, isn't novel to the world of physics, and it didn't exactly start out with the influential name it has been coined with as of now.
A physicist, a wonderful physicist, very brilliant physicist named Leon Lederman, who has received the Nobel Prize, he made a comment in a book that he wrote about this particle, the Higgs particle, that he'd been looking for it for decades. And while it's wonderful to eliminate regions, to say it's not there and it's not there, it's more exciting to find it. So he expressed a little bit of, let's say, frustration of not having seen this particle and referred to it as the goddamn particle. Now the editor of the book decided that wasn't a good name for a New York bestseller and changed the name slightly. And that is the background to the whole story. Nobody, especially not physicists, wants it to be called the God particle. There is no God particle as such, at least that we've considered in our theories.
Unfortunately, our media is constructed in such a way that it instinctively looks for outstanding voices. And by outstanding, I mean voices that stand outside the mainstream. And so it's not surprising to me that the Higgs boson particle would be popularly called the God particle because it represents what people seek for when they seek God. They seek wholeness and integrity and harmony and unity. And these are some of the things that God has traditionally stood for. And so the physics community desperately needs this at the level of theory. And so if this particle can actually be shown to exist, and if it would actually accomplish what they hope, then it would be a sort of purchase on that vision of unity and harmony that at some level lies very deep in the human heart.
The so-called God particle, in a nutshell, is a theory that attempts to describe what gives everything in the world its mass. Peter Higgs theorized that the discovery of the Higgs boson would validate the standard model of physics, the fundamental rules governing modern physics.
The Higgs particle is not only the sort of closure of the standard model, but it was also the opening of a huge amount of new theories and new research.
The Higgs boson is interesting for several reasons. It's a manifestation of a field which has been proposed to permeate the universe everywhere and to give mass to the other particles. So certain particles go through this field without interacting with it hardly at all. They're massless. A photon will just zip right through this field. But an electron, as they go through that field, they pick up something called mass. They couple with the field.
Within CERN, there are 2 experiments aiming to pinpoint the Higgs field. Recent developments have shown that the experiments are recording similar results. However, there is certainly an element of competition between the experiments.
Oh, yeah, there's a huge amount of competition, yes. Yes, of course. it's extremely important to have different teams working on two different experiments and approaching the question by sort of with two very similar instruments, okay? Even though if you look at them externally, they look different, right? One is huge, has these big magnets outside, and the first principles of the detections are really very similar from one experiment to the other one. So it's friendly competition, but friendly, extremely fierce competition.
Scientists have dedicated huge amounts of time to finding the Higgs boson. For them, it has been a lifelong journey, and the discovery will be a personal accomplishment.
Oh, for me personally, it would be extremely important. First, because I'm of a certain age, and I would like, as I was among the fathers conceiving this, I would like to have this found so I can devote a little bit more of my time to my grandchildren.
The fact that we've been waiting for 10 years or more, and people have been building this machine for more than 20 years now, the fact that in a year, everything seems to come together so fast, it's just crazy. You have the feeling of being on a roller coaster, the very, very slow getting up the hill, and then extremely abruptly, you get this incredible feeling of results coming. And
The Higgs boson, being coined the God particle, has caused somewhat of a nuisance to the scientific community.
No scientists refer to it as that. It'd be very pretentious to refer to a particle as the God particle, and it annoys pretty much all of us. It's not even that, it is important, but there's no particle more important than others. You know, we're very democratic about particles. We love them all. They're all equally important. It will be interesting to find it. I don't really feel a need to try to calm people down. It would be like me, a Democrat, going and telling my Tea Party friends to calm down about the deficit. It won't work, so I'm not gonna bother. I don't have to do this work of hosing down the fire because it will die off when people find that what they're saying doesn't make sense, it's not true.
With so much hype going into a theological aspect of the Higgs boson, is there some way to fit God into the scientific community?
If you get into the question of whether science could prove the existence of God, begs the question, well, what do we mean by God? So when physicists talk about God, in certain important respects, it doesn't always resemble the God that religious believers talk about. As I hear physicists talk about God, they're thinking in terms of an architect or engineer, or a little bit more accurately, the principle that set the initial causes of the universe, the so-called cosmological constants. And they're generally sort of agnostic about the nature of this principle. This is pretty far from the God of religious believers, who are probably interested in creation in a general way, but much more concerned about the way in which God walks with them daily and experiences their traumas and their hurts and their hopes.
Though the discovery of the Higgs boson is predicted to occur very soon, it will not solidify the existence of God one way or another. It will, however, allow physicists to point their attentions in the right direction. Whether the particle is proven or not, scientists at CERN will continue to strive in unlocking the secrets of the universe, one mystery at a time.